when she was really little, she'd get overwhelmed with choices. If we went out to eat, it got to the place we just decided we would give her like 2 choices on what she could eat. Because if she looked at the menu, it would literally bring her to tears. She just did not want to have to decide between 10 different things. So we'd give her 2 and give her that choice. Because we struggle with decisions. And I know those are little things, but in the larger things as well, we struggle with it. We don't like to choose. We don't like to be put on the spot of I have to decide. Because of that, there are some people who live their entire lives in a way that they don't have to make tough choices. They'll maybe purposely put themselves in a place that someone else always makes those choices for them because they know they can't. They know that when it comes down to it, they're going to struggle making that decision, so I'm just going to live my life in a way that someone else makes those for me. A lot of people will get mad. They'll get upset if they're forced to make a decision because they don't want to have to choose anything. People don't like it when things are black and white, where it's, right or wrong, because that's a choice. This passage that we started with today, Joshua, he brings the children of Israel together, and I've already kind of mentioned this. He brings the children of Israel together, and we're going to get kind of more into it as we go through the message. But in it, he says, choose you this day. Make a decision. He doesn't give them I want you to take this and think about it and mull it over for a while, go home and pray about it, come back in a week and let me know what you think. No, choose you this day. Make a decision. Pick something right now. If you give me a little bit of liberty tonight, I want to take that mindset and look at 4 places or 4 scenarios where we need to make a decision. We're coming into the start of a new year. We're wrapping up this year. Start the new year making some decisions. Or it could be thought of this way. Some decisions to make this day. Before 2023 ends, some decisions to be made. These are things that are putting it off, not deciding isn't an option. Because often that's what we'll do. Well, we can't decide, so we just don't. I can't decide if I want a chocolate shake or a strawberry shake, so I'll take one of both. I can't make up my mind, so I'm just going to take both of them. Not that there's anything wrong with 2 milkshakes. I love them, but we're not going to stay there. But we get I can't decide, so I just won't. I can't decide if I should do this or not, so I'm just not going to do anything. I want to see 4 areas where we need to decide, where indecision isn't an option. The first, make a decision about salvation. I understand it's Sunday night. I do, but it needs to be addressed. 2 Corinthians 6 verse 2 says, "For he saith, I have heard thee in a time accepted. In a day of salvation have I succored thee. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation." I know it is Sunday night, but what a better time than Sunday night just before the new year to settle your salvation. I mean, there could be, if there is a person here, and I don't know, I know most of you and your testimony of salvation, but there may be someone here tonight who is struggling with it. There may be someone here tonight who doesn't know. Maybe you've been coming to church for years and have been playing a game, but it isn't settled. There could not be a better way to end 2023 and start 2024 than to have that settled tonight. Notice the statement in 2 Corinthians 6:2, "Behold, now is the day of salvation." This isn't something to put off, like with where we saw in Joshua chapter 24. This isn't something to wait on or, I'm going to take some time and think about it. This isn't something to be indecisive over, because there's no telling how much time there is. James 4 verse 14 says, "Whereas you know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time and then vanisheth away." It's just a short time. I know we don't like to think about that, and everyone wants to think that they have years left and that they never maybe have to worry about this, but we just don't know that that's true. Our lives can end so quickly, and we never know. The verse says like a vapor. Vapor disappears in the blink of an eye. It wasn't that long ago that in a message I mentioned that. Vapor's like a fog. You think about a fog. When fog is there, it's miserable. I am not a fog fan. It makes it hard to see. It's usually cold. It's usually wet when it's foggy. I mean, that is it's just not a pleasant thing. But you think of a fog, it lingers and it hangs around and you can't see and it's miserable. And the entire time you're thinking, when is this fog going to be gone? And then all of a sudden, it's gone. There's sometimes, I get it, there's sometimes that fog slips away slowly, which really could be applicable because sometimes you see that with life, that it slips away slowly. But most of the time with fog, it's just gone. It went from you are socked in with fog to there's nothing. That's how our life can be. That we're alive and it seems like we're strong and everything is fine and we think, well, I have years left, and then it can be gone in a moment. We don't know how long we have. I was thinking about it while preparing for this. I have friends already who have passed away. I'm 36 years old. All my friends should be alive and well. They should be, in a time in their life that they're thriving. They should be, well into their careers and raising family. And I have friends that are gone. Their life was like a vapor. They were there, and everything was fine, and then gone that fast. I knew a guy. It's been a few years back now. He was 24 years old, and I didn't know him well, but I knew him through a few friends that I had. But I knew the guy, and he was a road construction worker, and he was working a road compactor, So it's a loud machine bouncing around. You can't hear much, and they were working on a new road, and he's working that thing, and dump truck driver backing up didn't see him, and he's got this machine going, so he didn't hear it. Backed over him. 24 years old, was killed instantly. His life was like a vapor. And I tell all that for this reason. I can't count the number of times that I've heard people who I've witnessed to or who I've talked to have said, well, I have plenty of time. I'm young. I don't need to get saved yet. Maybe they're indecisive. I'm not sure about this. I need to spend some time thinking about it. Here's the problem with that. You don't know how much time you have. And I never want to be someone that scares a person into getting saved. That's by no means my intention. But if you're lost, there ought to be a little fear. Because if you die lost in your sins, what you're going to face is beyond description. This is a decision that needs to be made. Today is the day, not tomorrow, not I need to think about it a little bit more, not maybe when I'm, on my deathbed. Today. Deal with this today. Make a decision now. Don't make excuses. Don't make reasons that you can't. Today is the day of salvation. This is a decision that can't be put off. This is not something to be indecisive about. Make a decision about salvation today. Number 2, make a decision to do God's will. Let me just say this, regardless of what that is. I think of Abraham. Abraham chose to follow God's will for his life. No matter where that took him, he chose to follow God. When you talk about following God's will, Abraham is almost always one of those examples that comes up, or kind of those first people that are mentioned from the Bible when you're looking at following God's will, because of the example that we see in it. The fact that he follows God's plan for his life, having no idea what that plan was. I mean, God just told him, go, so he went. It didn't matter to what or to where. It was just, God said go, so he went. There are some other examples of people in the Bible who followed God without question in areas that would have been difficult. Think of David when he fought Goliath. All common sense would say that a boy fighting a giant is a bad idea. Like, all common sense. Nothing about it seems like a good idea, especially when this giant is a man who is trained to fight and is scary enough that an entire army of men are too scared to face him. Like, you're not talking just there's one guy who's too scared to face him. There is an army hiding on a hill because Goliath is here. And a teenage boy says, I can take him. Now, This boy who watches his father's sheep and is going to go fight him. To add to it, the boy isn't even going to carry a shield or a sword or a spear or anything that even resembles fighting. He's going to go fight Goliath with a sling, a rock, and a stick. Remember, Goliath even mocks that. You're going to send a kid at me with a stick? I mean, there is nothing about this scenario that says it's a good idea. In fact, the entire opposite. It screams this is a really bad idea. We are going to send David to fight Goliath, saying if David wins, the Philistines surrender to us. But if Goliath wins, we're going to surrender to the Philistines. You have to think they're all thinking, well, this is it. Because there's no way this is going to work. But David still did it. Not because their nation needed him to. Not because their king directed him to. But because it was God's will. And he was going to follow God's will no matter if it defied logic or not. David went and faced Goliath because, well, God is with me and God led me to do it. Just followed God's will. There are historical examples of that. Men who left comforts of their home to go to missions field, leaving everything and everyone that they knew to go across the world and preach the gospel to strangers. Quite often to people who don't even want them there. It's against logic. You think of how many missionaries went into places where it's illegal to be a missionary. I mean, they're going somewhere where they don't want you there. But they know God's leading them, so I'm going to go. It's against logic. It's God's will, so they go. Or men who have moved to plant a church or to pastor. There are all sorts of examples of that. There are examples today, men who do those same things now against logic and common sense because it's God's will and they're going to follow God's will. I think of my dad, moved to Astoria, Oregon, and you've all heard his stories, had no money, no hope of a job, no any of that. He moved to a town hours away from anyone he knew, and a town that he had never seen before to start a church in a town that didn't want it. It's not like Astoria called him up and said, hey, we've been looking for a Baptist pastor, will you come start a church here? They didn't want it. That's going against, that defies logic. But it was God's will, so he did it. That's a hard decision to come to. A decision that we often struggle with because we have our will. We have our plans and we have the things that we want to do, and we don't like to give those up, and it never seems that God's plan is the same as what my plan is. I'm going to guess that it was not David's idea when he woke up in the morning to go to the battle and fight a giant. It's not like David woke up saying, this is what I want to do today. I'm going to convince my dad to let me go check on my brothers so I can go face the giant. No, that wasn't his plan. Quite often, God's will seems outlandish. It seems nuts. It seems crazy to us. In David's case and others, it seemed like a death wish. But here's the deal. The safest place for a child of God to be is in the will of God. Even if, by your logic, it doesn't seem safe. The safest place that you can be is directly in the will of God. Make a decision to be in God's will. This isn't something to wait on. It's sad how many Christians mess up their lives struggling with this decision or putting it off that, well, I want to do my will first and then eventually I will. They can't let go of what they want and their plans for their lives and won't just make the decision to follow God's will in their life, regardless of what it is. And often they destroy their lives because of it. Destroy their families. Make the decision today to follow God's will. Don't be indecisive. Make a decision. Number 3, make a decision to serve God. And I understand this could go kind of hand in hand with the last point. Joshua 24, verse 15, we read it to start off. If it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve. Whether the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. This goes back to our original passage. Joshua tells them, you make a choice. Choose who you are going to serve. And then I love the statement. It says, for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. My family, this is what we're going to do. I know this is a familiar passage. We know of this stand Joshua makes, but what I don't think we often think of is how this decision that they had to make applies to us. Because it's impossible to serve God and anything else. I don't think we often really grasp that. We know it, but I don't think we really grasp it. We know that we ought to serve God. And I think the majority of people who go to church any time at all would say, I want to serve God. But what we really struggle grabbing a hold of is to serve God, that means serving nothing but God. Exodus 24:5, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in earth beneath, or that is the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children of the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. God's a jealous God, and we cannot serve him and anything else. Matthew 6:24, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he'll hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. Both verses telling us the same thing, that you cannot serve God and anyone or anything else, which brings you to the question, which are you going to serve? Like I said, most people would say that they serve God, but they think that serving God simply means, well, I'm going to go to church once in a while. Or I serve God, and by that they mean, maybe I do a little something for him. But the majority of their life is filled with what they want. Who are you going to serve? Are you going to serve God? Are you going to give your life to him? Or are you going to serve you? Simply doing the things that you want. We need to make a decision. I'm going to serve God. Stop trying to ride in the middle and make a decision. Then, lastly this evening, make a decision to be sold out. Make a decision to be sold out. Revelation 3, verse 14 through 6. And I've been trying to, with this, kind of each point building on themselves, where we're looking at salvation and then serving him, and kind of each one moving on, making a decision to be sold out. Revelation 13, verse 14 through 16. Unto the angel of the church of Laodiceans write, These things saith the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Now, this has always been kind of an interesting verse to me, because he's writing to the church and he says, I know you. I know you. You're not hot. You're not on fire for God. You're not completely sold out. But you're not cold either. Like you're not sold out for God. You're not on fire, but you're not completely closed to serving God. You'll do a little here and there when it's convenient or when it works out for you. So you're lukewarm. And here's the thing, most people, and this is a reality, most people think God should be happy with their lukewarm Christianity. Most people think, well, that's pretty good that at least I'm not cold. I may not be on fire for God, but at least I'm not cold. Lukewarm's not bad. I do some things for God, but I'm not going to be fanatical about it. God says, I would rather you be cold than lukewarm. Tells him, you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out of my mouth. It makes God sick. I don't know, maybe I'm too simplistic in things. I don't know about you. The idea of me making God nauseous, that kind of turns my stomach. The fact that the way I'm living could make God nauseous because I'm neither cold nor hot. I'm just kind of riding in the middle. I do enough to make myself feel good about being a Christian, but not really sold out for God. But way too often, we're content being lukewarm Christians, aren't we? Where we'll do a little for God here and there, serving God when it works with our schedule. And as I said, we think that God should be happy with that. I'm giving him some. That should be good enough for him in our minds. But it makes him sick. He'd rather you were cold than lukewarm. have to be honest, really. Thinking about this kind of set me back a little bit. I had to think about this one a little bit. I've heard the passage all my life, but I guess I've never put a ton of thought into it because, first thought is, well, why wouldn't that be better than cold? Right? Like if I turn on a shower and it's lukewarm, I'm sure going to be happier with lukewarm than a freezing cold shower. Why wouldn't that be, better? Why isn't that the case? And I'm sure someone in here, I'm not the only one who thinks that way, I'm sure. So I'm sure someone here is thinking the same thing, isn't it? Isn't it better? Because, well, at least he's getting something from you. Thought of it more this way, and let me try and explain it this way and see if this helps you, at least helps you the way that it helped me. Think of it in terms of a friend. Given the option of a person who is your friend who is always reliable, there for you no matter what, or a person on the opposite end who you can never depend on them. Like they call themselves your friend, but they are never there for you. Sometimes they may help you out, but other times they leave you in a bind because, you just never know where they stand on things. If you can, I did not explain that well. So you have a person who is dependable, a person who's not dependable. I would rather a person who I can depend on the fact that they're never going to help me than a person who I think, well, they might help me or they might leave me on the side of the road. That's just the reality of it. If I'm stranded on the side of the road and I'm going to call Fred, I'm going to pick on you because you're right up front. And I'm going to call Fred to come pick me up because my car is broken down on the side of the road. But I know Fred has just proved over the years, sometimes when I call him, he comes and gets me. And other times he says, yeah, sure, I'll be there to get you. And I stand there for hours on the side of the road and he never comes. And I appreciate Brother Fred because he'll let me pick on him in this way and doesn't get offended by it, so thank you. No, that's lukewarm. That's what lukewarm Christianity is. It's that, sometimes I might do something, but I'm not dependable for God. I'd rather know where a person stands. I'd rather a person just tell me, yes, I'll come get you, or say, nope, not coming. So then I know I can try and call someone else. Lukewarm is that one that says, yeah, I'm coming, and then doesn't. When we're a lukewarm Christian, we're like that bad friend, the one that you can't trust. Is that really the relationship with God that you want? Do you really want to make God sick? I'm going to use this term again. I've said it a few times because it fits pretty well. Too often, Christianity-wise, we ride the fence. We never make a decision to be sold out for God, and instead, we become a lukewarm Christian. Make a decision. Today is the day to decide, I'm going to be sold out for God. I'm not going to be cold and closed off to the things of God. No longer going to be lukewarm and just kind of, when it fits in my schedule. I want to be on fire for God. So I'm going to kind of try to bring all this together for a conclusion this evening. We'll get ready to wrap this up. Today is the day to make a decision. Last chance to make a decision for God, 2023. This will be the last invitation that we have this year. This is not the time to be a procrastinator and put this off. This is not the time to decide, I understand maybe if it's a salvation, maybe, this is not the time to say, I understand that I need to accept Christ as my Savior, but not today. This is not the time to decide, I know that I should do some more things for God, but I just need to think about it. Or I know that I ought to serve God more, but I don't want to be fanatical about it. Or I know that I ought to be on fire for God and sold out, but I just don't know. No, make a decision. If you're here tonight and you don't know Christ, make a decision. This is not something to be put off. You don't know how much longer you have. Today is the day of salvation. Christian, you're here today. Make the decision to do God's will no matter what it is. Make the decision that you're gonna serve Him, that you're gonna follow, or that you're not going to follow after the things that you want, but that you're going to follow what He wants. Make the decision to be on fire for Him. Don't ride the fence on this. We need some Christians who will decide, and what a better way to end 2023 and move into the new year than with your salvation settled, the determination to follow His will, and the decision to be sold out for God. Let's go ahead and pray. Lord, I do want to thank you, Lord, for the privilege that we have to serve you. Lord, I thank you for the salvation that you offer. Lord, and I do pray that you will help, if there is one here tonight that does not know you, that you'll help today to be the day of salvation, Lord, that you'll help them to make that decision today, not to put it off, today. Lord, I pray for those who are here this evening that do know you, Lord, but maybe are riding the fence. Maybe they know that you have a plan for them, but they just haven't made the decision to set their will aside yet. Or maybe they know that they ought to be on fire for you. They just haven't moved past that lukewarm stage yet. Lord, help today for decisions to be made for you.